Everybody thinks they can make a podcast. I just had someone this is great because the other day, a friend of mine told me that she has been told by her friends that she should make a podcast. And I'm like, great, what's it going to be about? She's like, oh, I don't know, just me talking about my life. And I thought to myself, that's not really a podcast unless you're able to get, lots of people to care about your life. What would you really talk about? Just hanging out with friends, going out on dates, my life with my family and my friends and my work and my dogs. And I'm like, what's the catch? What's the hook? What's the angle? There's a lot of these personal podcasts that don't go anywhere. And of course, people see the podcasts from, people who've gotten $20 million contracts talking about their dating life, right? And I say it's very unrealistic. That doesn't happen look at me. I've been doing it for 7 years. And yes, I'm sponsored, but it took me 4 years to get to that point. So, it takes you at least 100 episodes to get noticed by anybody. That's the number. That's when I got noticed, 100 episodes. So my advice would be to first say, what's your angle? Do you have a very good, clear-cut angle that's not saturated? So you don't want to talk about the same thing that 100 other people are talking about. Mine was very specific. It was entrepreneurship, but in a way that was actionable. That was my original idea, and also the future. People love that technology stuff. Couldn't find a lot of podcasts in my lane, so I went with it, and it worked. So you have to find what works for you in your lane. What are you knowledgeable about, and what are people constantly asking you about? So if you're getting a lot of requests from people to talk about music or sports or whatever it is, and you have a very good knowledge about a specific niche in that industry, that's what your podcast should be about. The second thing is,
why niche? Why do you niche down? Why?
Because if you start niche, you can open it up later.
Okay.
Right. So that's what I did. I actually started with these really small monologues about entrepreneurship to help people. And I was sending them out to people who were always asking me about those. So here's how I look at it. It's hard for me to pick an industry here, but let's say you're really good at art. Okay, you're really good at painting. And you have these techniques that are just, your friends keep asking you to teach them how to do those techniques. It's very hard to do that on a podcast because it's visual, but let's say you do it, okay? Now, the next time someone asks you the question about how do you make your paintbrush move that way, here's an episode where I talk about that. Just listen to that or watch the video, right? You keep doing that over and over again. And all of a sudden you realize you stopped answering those questions from people. Next thing you know, you have enough of a portfolio of episodes that now you have leading industry expert artists saying, hey, I'd like to be on your show and showcase my talents. Sounds good. Now you're starting the interviews. So you just opened up that niche into the interview world, right? It's not the same. It's a different thing. Now you're doing interviews. Once you do that and you realize, okay, I'm getting an audience from the interviews and I have my niche audience that's listening to my regular episodes. What else do I like? Well, I want to open up this other thing that I'm really good at that I never talk about. And I'm going to talk about that now. Maybe it's music and you incorporate music. That's what I did with the future. Future tech was my outlet into that world of, because I've been on TV for it. I've been writing about it for a long time. I even have this screenplay I wrote during the pandemic, Protocol 7, 3 finalists for 3 screenwriting festivals. So, I'm definitely, knowledgeable in that field. And so that's what you want to do. You want to start small and it's the same goes for a startup, right? You always start small, your MVP, your minimum viable product, and then you start adding features that the market tells you they want, not versus, building the entire platform and then trying to sell it. Nobody wants it, right? It's the same thing with the podcast.